Hey Brick Maniacs, welcome back to another Friday Sit Rep. We have a lot to dig into this week, including a new minifig of the month and a couple of new pre-orders. Quick note from me though, make sure to stick around after the check-ins because we've got some information to finally share here that I know a lot of you have been anxious to hear about. But until then, let's dive on in, take a look at what Brickmania was up to this week. All right, we're kicking things off at Brennan's desk, and the strange aircraft appearing at this location just continues to get more interesting. This is the Ho 229 experimental flying wing, to be exact. Obviously, the shape matches what it's called. Tell me a little bit more about what we're looking at here, Brennan.
So this thing was a really bizarre looking prototype, as you can tell, from late in the Second World War. If I remember, this is actually largely made out of wood, not for the sake of being like the Mosquito, but more in the sense that we literally don't have any metal in Germany at this point.
Oh, yes.
There is nothing we can build with this. I mean, even the bizarrely large front wheel that we've got on this, which is why it sits so far on its haunches, it was I think it was sourced from the tail wheel of a bomber.
Oh, really?
Seriously, because it's all they had lying around. They're like, we need a wheel for this thing, what do we do? Just slap that on there and hope it works, and it seems to.
Talk about using what you have available.
Exactly. So
well, the camo looks incredible. I mean, for being brick built, it's really nice and smooth. I love the colors we got going on here. Obviously, those cannons look really sharp. Mm-hmm. Mix of stickers and printing, but printed canopy, people will be really excited to hear about that.
Yeah. Normally, I'm like, printed canopy? Probably not. Mm-hmm. But this one is so simple and straightforward. I mean, it's basically a line, but that's what it looks like. It's just got that. So this would be the point at which it all slides back, kind of like a bubble, and then you've just got the spine along the front. But a very, very nice looking print to that. We've also got, I don't know if you saw earlier, you probably did, we've got a test print for the exhaust sitting on the back here, so it kind of comes to that cone, like it's had a lot of that intense, like, burning jet fuel going past it as it goes out the back. So
a nice touch for sure.
Really looks very nice. Going to have some continuation of this white printing all across these slopes and these ones here, so that gets that nice little stripe there, and a continuation of the darker camo that crosses from the front all the way down here, crossing here and here.
Oh wow, very cool.
Very nice. And then we've got a couple of red 21s sitting on the side. At per request of our designer Jack Smith. This I should have specified. This is not mine.
Right.
I am merely the project manager. And then of course we're also going to do the lovely intakes he's got here with a piece I have never used in a build before. The Lego egg. It is
but
adorable.
It works.
It totally works. I mean, it looks even the little hole in the top actually mimics exactly how it looks. If you go and look up images of this thing,
crazy how that translates sometimes.
Seriously, I mean, this thing, it's been on my desk, and I can't deny. The more I look at it, it's like it's just right. It looks like a Horten.
Well, and that's got to be very satisfying as a project manager to have it come together and look the way you want it to look.
Well,
so,
yeah,
excellent build for
as
sure.
a total nut, it is lovely.
Very, very cool. The Horten Ho 229 for Wunderwaffe bricks now available on pre-order. Does come with a custom minifigure as well, so make sure to check out that product page for more details. Otherwise, Brendan, thanks for checking in. All right, and we've got a pair of check-ins at Dan's desk today. First up is the Kugelblitz, and then we also have the Goliath tracked mine. So Dan, tell us a little bit more about, I know this one is your design, this one you were the project manager for. What are we looking at here?
Well, actually, this is Kugelblitz.
Yeah.
It's an attempt to mount a little bit better anti-aircraft gun onto a Panzer IV platform. I see the ambush camouflage and I immediately think Tiger, but yeah. So it's a Panzer IV hull, and the idea was like, let's have mobile anti-aircraft artillery. Late in the war, the German, the Luftwaffe kind of lost its total air superiority, so they wanted to like add mobile firepower, mobile anti-aircraft firepower to the Panzer columns. This was a prototype You maybe recognize the Verbal Wind, the Mobile Wagon. They had all sorts of like field expedient or factory expedient. Let's mate these two existing systems. That they were huge. The Verbal Wind was as tall as a church. These things were just massive. And this idea came to let's put a ball turret inside of a tank hull. That's exactly what they did. They developed. This is a different gun. This gun only existed on the prototype. I mean, it was a new gun that was better than the 20mm cannons that were on the Whirlwind. And then the turret was way more lower profile because it was a ball. Actually, they just pull off the Panzer IV turret, drop this ball right down in the space, and two guys actually sit inside this ball. They rotate with the gun. So you have your normal, your driver, your co-driver, and then you'd have two more crew members up in here. They're anti-aircraft. It's basically they're feeding ammunition and shooting this massive gun. So.
Well, and the turret itself really came together nicely. You can see how smoothly it rotates, and there's no gap there.
No, absolutely nothing. Well. And the rotation. So the gun's elevate. In the real tank, it's actually an oscillating turret, so the whole ball would rotate. But I obviously don't have enough room inside of the Panzer.
Although the way the hatch kind of tilts back when you rotate it, does kind of simulate that.
Yeah, and you
it would look like.
Seal the whole thing up, and you basically have a whole ball here. So. And it works. It does freely move, so it does work the way it's as advertised. So.
Very
I'm missing a couple pieces. In fact, I just saw that little baggie of parts on my desk. So if you see these studs here, will actually be covered up by wedge. Wedge slopes, wedge curve slopes.
When I like the extra tracks and the tools and stuff we got.
Right. Well, and there was one prototype completed, and there's extra turrets that they found in various places, but there's one tank completed. And this is sort of the way the stowage was on the tank. It had applique armor, so it doesn't have the sloped roof. Some people commented, why don't you have the sloped roof like on the other Panzer IV earlier models? They built up applique armor around this whole front of the hull, so the extra protection for the crew. So it is flat. It's a box.
Okay, that's good.
It's a square box. All the extra, the tracks are good if there's a breakdown, but it was basically designed to protect weak spots in the armor. So any extra heavy metal stuff you can put on the tank, all the better. Stowage, you got extra wheels. In this case, you see all of these.
I know they're all printed already.
Yeah, these are printed, but these aren't the colors that they'll be in. These are just fill-ins. So, there will be some tan, but we also are going to be printing in olive and brown too. So it'll be the printing will be slightly different. There'll be a Balkenkreuz here. We're printing turret hatches.
Anywhere.
No stickers at all. There'll be actually plenty of printing. A couple of like Easter egg prints in here too. So,
nice. All right.
Yeah, I've seen the artwork. The artwork's great, but I'm not going to give it away because it's going to be a fun little surprise for them.
Very, very cool. Definitely a welcome addition to Wunderwaffe Bricks on pre-order right now. This one, however, is not a pre-order. This is the Goliath Track Mine. This is just a straight up mini kit release. Already peeping the printed tile here. This was kind of a cool little invention.
Right, and I actually wasn't the project manager. I kind of inherited this. This was Tasha was working on this one. Okay. And then Tasha, of course, she was our intern for summer. She's back at school. I did finished it up. So we have this little tracked mine, and we have there's one little printed piece for the hand controller. So the idea of the Goliath, which it obviously isn't Goliath, it's tiny, is that they would pack a small remote control tank full of explosives. They could go drive it out under other tanks or else like destroy enemy fortifications from a long distance. So it wasn't like radio controlled, it was wire guided. So there'd be a guy at the other end of this controller, and it would just be a spool. There's a spool of wire that would just be let out from behind Goliath as it traveled. When it got to its destination, they push a button and it blows up.
Try to drive it underneath a T-34 or something.
Yeah, a tank. But I mean, if it was me, I'd be driving this through obstacles. Like if there was a heavy fortification, drive that right up to the bunker side and just blow it.
Just let it go.
Yeah. So it sure beats trying to run up there yourself and throw a satchel charge on it or something. So.
Yep, use that cable, and obviously it led to a lot of other developments when it came to remote operated weaponry. So
absolutely,
a very cool part of history there.
I haven't heard of any cases of this thing being actually used. And you see all kinds of pictures of guys on D-Day like playing with them, riding around on them, and try to play with them, see how they work.
Well, it definitely make a very unique addition to a mock. Actually, both of these would make incredibly unique additions to mock. So it'll be interesting to see what the builders do once they get a hold of them. But otherwise, both of them available right now on brickmania.com. Dan, thanks for checking in.
You're welcome.
And we're wrapping things up, checking in with Landon for not one, but two different products, although they're combined here onto the same minifigure. So this is the new minifig of the month. This is the German Heer Soldier with Liebermuster camo. And then we also have the Nachtjäger pack, which is that perfect caliber STG that he's sporting, as well as that custom 3D printed rack pack. So Landon, take it away. Tell us a little bit more about this fig.
Okay, should we start on that Nachtjäger pack?
Yeah, that's totally
let's do
fine.
that.
So they're two separate things. You got to get the pack and the guide to get what you're looking at here. Otherwise, the minifigure is available standalone, as is the pack.
Yes. So let's start with the backpack here. So this is it seems like it was kind of improvised with the equipment that they had at the time. I don't know if this was like widely distributed. I doubt it.
Kind of a late war theme.
Yes,
there.
right. What's interesting is the battery pack in the bottom appears to be a canister for a gas mask repurposed as like a battery pack. So that is interesting. That powers the STG-44 with that. This is the Vampire version, and so the thought is that through the scope you can actually you're able to see things on the IR spectrum, and this on top is actually a giant infrared flashlight.
Okay.
So they can sneak around with this flashlight, lighting up the woods or wherever, and only they can see that through that scope there. So that was kind of a pioneering technology at the time. And what's interesting is that their uniform was kind of made in the same line of thinking that eventually the enemy was also going to have this infrared night vision capabilities.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So moving on to the minifigure. Let's just start at the top. We have this camo field cap, and that's in that splinter camo. Really simple cap, supposedly maybe like reversible. I don't know. This is just a simple camouflage cap. Then that face veil. That's just kind of one of those.
Turn that towards me.
Yeah, that's a little creepy face
Can you
veil.
pop the hat off real
Yeah,
quick?
sure. It's let's pop that hat off.
The visor. There we go.
Yeah,
Now we
yeah.
can see.
So that's just a bunch of like thread. It's like they just took some fabric and cut that up and made these face veils. So again, this
Is
is
it like ghillie style almost? Or-
kind of like that. Yeah, you'd see snipers using this probably most commonly. And by common, I mean not really that often.
Yeah,
so this
'cause
is one of
none
those
us are
things
seriously common, yeah.
where this is maybe a little bit of a historical stretch. But then again, if we're seeing this guy decked out with ammunition, that's probably even more of a historical stretch. So, right. No, I just thought it kind of went into that. Like this is what the like ideal soldier would look like at the time. So that's again, this is all kind of this Wonder Waffen month here. So
Exactly.
these are the ideal things in some of these scenarios.
Diving into the historically theoretical.
Historically theoretical, yes. So this camouflage, Liebermuster didn't see in real life a lot of, like, he didn't really get deployed into combat much, if at all. But the camouflage itself is very, very, very interesting. It's like a 6-color camouflage. I think when they cut the patterns, it's crazy. When the patterns mix, you get I think it's up to 9 different tones. I was counting on that. So this is a bit simplified compared to the real version of this camouflage.
But it has to be.
Right. So again, in that whole infrared vein of things, the ink that they were using for this camo it wasn't very visible on that spectrum. So it actually was designed with the thought that eventually the enemy would be using night vision goggles as well, or night vision technology as well. So that's kind of, I don't know if that's necessarily the reason for the intense orange coloration. I think they were also just maybe going for a more universal, spring, fall, summer, winter, of coloration to it. That coloration is really interesting because it definitely reminds me of that Flecktarn coloration a little bit there. So that's just kind of an interesting side note. Liebermuster, it's unofficially looks to be sort of an inspiration for even American ERDL camo, and then later on to Woodland, you can kind of see some of those similar blotches, especially the black blotches there, very, very similar to ERDL in some respects. Moving on from that, no, there's more stuff on this camo. Okay, this one more little deep dive here. So this camo, what's interesting about the production of it is that they use different diameter screen barrels, like I said, these rolling barrels. So it's virtually non-repeating on how it would overlap with each other. So this pattern, just for all intents and purposes, it just didn't repeat itself. So
Interesting.
That's a cool production note. Whether or not that really helps you in a practical sense in the battlefield is
right.
a little questionable. But I just thought that was one kind of interesting note in its production. Moving on to the equipment, we have this ersatz equipment is what they refer to it as, and it's like a substitution is what it was, ersatz. So instead of having like leather, they didn't really have access to good supply of leather anymore. So those the Y straps would all be, the webbing would all be in fabric now at this point. And even the metal hardware on that on the Y straps, that's actually repurposed British buckles, and like, so it's like that's all they had at that point. They didn't have their own production capability anymore, and they, I guess, had enough British gear that they were, I guess they scrounged that and repurposed it for that that position. So yeah, super late war. You know, they're kind of scrounging around for whatever they had at that point. Also, yeah, same thing with the ammo pouches. Again, you'd normally see ammo pouches in leather, right? So this is clearly, these are fabric. These are actually made using confiscated grain fabric. So there's these little red lines here and there, and that was actually when they're making these grain bags, or mail bags, I'm not quite sure. That was like a guide for the people who were sewing it together, but when they're making it into ammo pouches, it doesn't really have any application there. So
right.
it's just an interesting,
kind of all over the place.
Yeah, interesting thing that you'll see on those pouches from the day. New Gator artwork, little leg wraps there in that field gray. And then finally, it's the M44 boots. That's like I believe it's the last boot that Germany produced. Super late in the war, didn't get a whole lot of widespread deployment. You can kind of tell the difference because there's a leather toe cap on there. Overall, you know, there's lots of unique gear for this minifigure. I think there's more that, you know, we can delve into, but you know, there's just, it's cool. There's a lot of stuff here.
No kidding. Between the pack and the minifigure, lots to unpack. Now you can check it out at brickmania.com right now and await receiving yours in the mail. Landon, thanks for checking in, man.
Thank you.
All right, and that will do it for the Friday sit rep. Quick note from me, though. I know people have been anxious about wondering when our next coupon code is going to come out, when our next sale is going to be. That is going to be on Veterans Day, so November 11th will be the next sale. It'll be 11% off online, excluding pre-orders, pretty standard stuff. We'll release the coupon code a little bit closer to that day, but the interesting part is the retail location. So we're going to do a Veterans Day double down for active service members, military members, veterans, etc. So basically, if you go to a Brickmania retail store, not only will you get the 11% off that everybody gets, but when you show your military ID, you will also get an additional 11% off as well for a total of 22%. However, that additional 11%, if you are a veteran or active service member, does not stack with the plank owner discount. So if you are a plank owner, it isn't going to bump up to then a 33% discount. It'll be the 11% instead of the 10%. So it'll still be more significant savings when combined with that 11%. But I just wanted to get out ahead of it now, let people know that the sale is on its way. There is going to be 11% off sale coming to brickmania.com for Veterans Day, and then a double down in our retail stores. So you might want to plan your trip now if you're interested in taking advantage of that, but the potential of 22% off pretty much everything we have. Some exclusions apply when it comes to the reseller stuff, but all of the Brickmania stuff in our retail stores you'll be able to get for that 22% off. So we're excited to do it. Some of you may know too, we're already going to be working in conjunction with the Minnesota Military Families Foundation, as well as some of our veteran Brickmaniacs, active service member Brickmaniacs, to do some highlight profiles, etc., and then raise some money for a good cause in that regard. More information on that heading closer to November. Otherwise, that will do it for the Friday sit rep. Thank you very much for watching.